Does your company need a boost getting employees to understand that safety is a personal responsibility? Does your company struggle with recordable injuries and lost time accidents? If that's you, give our friends at Wagner Industrial Training Systems a call today at 717-479-1052. Wagner Industrial Training Systems offers a variety of safety and continuous improvement services, including forklift certification and behavioral-based safety training topics that include lockout tagout, machine guarding, PPE, respirable crystalline silica, and countless other topics. Does your company require first aid, CPR, or AED training? Wagner Industrial Training Systems has licensed instructors to cover those topics as well. What would life be like for your family if something happened to you today at work? Give the guys at Wagner Industrial Training Systems a call at 717-479-1052. Also, you can check them out at Facebook at Wagner Industrial Training Systems. All of our Going Yard podcast listeners will get 10% off of their first class just by mentioning that you heard this ad. So call today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 9 of the Going Yard podcast, where we talk all things baseball. How deep do we go?
Real deep.
So deep. So another week and this week of baseball has been pretty damn exciting. A lot of drama going on. It's still continuing to go on. So many things to talk about, and to believe we're almost in double digits for episodes. It's absolutely insane.
It's crazy. I can't believe that we're half, not half, but I mean, like, I can't believe these episodes reel off as fast as they do, and we're almost to number 10, so thanks for whoever tuned in for the very first one who's still with us, and all of our new listeners along the way. It's been real exciting. We're just getting started really into the baseball season, though. I mean, I'm looking at some of the things. Most of these teams are only about 40 games in, Dan, so we got 120-some to go.
And if we go back to our very first episode where we were just talking, we did our first 6-5-3, and we were talking about the teams that we thought were going to be number 1 and teams we thought were going to be number 2. On the American League side, we're pretty damn close to what, the same thoughts we were going to have in the beginning, but National League, not so much. Things are kind of switched around, and it's making it really, really exciting. I mean, I love it.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think here that if I told you the Atlanta Braves and the Phillies were going to be ahead of the Nationals and the Mets, you probably wouldn't have taken me on that bet. But, and then you got the Cubs, who aren't in first place in their division either, and neither the Cardinals. So it's crazy. The Dodgers and the Giants, they're struggling a little bit here, so it's crazy from what we thought. Like I said, we're only about a quarter of the way, I guess, in. So, we'll
good news for the Giants, though. Mad Bum's coming back.
That is
very
exciting.
I hate that nickname.
Mad Bum?
I hate it.
I think it works. I think when you do what he did in the postseason and pitch your team to a World Series, you can be called pretty much anything you want.
But I wonder if he likes it.
I wonder if he does. It's a good question. Maybe we'll ask him one day.
Maybe. We'll see. But before we get too deep into this, I want to say a big happy birthday to Buck Showalter. I believe he's 62.
Not a young man anymore.
No. And Bartolo Colon. So he's turning 45 today, and man, we've seen some pretty cool videos from him recently. Snapping off line drives coming right at his face or his belly.
The guy ain't scared of anything ever at all.
I love it. As soon as he does it, he just smiles and just he jokes around.
Takes it all in stride, dude. There's definitely not a day that doesn't go by that guy isn't laughing and smiling. It seems like, and every time he gets on the field, something Bartolo-ish happens. I mean, it's always something crazy with that guy.
I think he's going to be that guy when he comes back for the old timers game. Do you remember
what, next week? No.
Yeah, when he comes back for that, or when they have that game for the I guess it's the old timers game for the All-Star game.
All-Star
right?
game with you, like the softball game?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Who was the player? It was when we were younger, he came back. Was it Goose Gossage? Was it him maybe who played for like a shitload of teams and he had all the teams listed down his jersey? Cologne's gonna be the same way, but he's so he's just like a big teddy bear.
He is. I mean, and the way it looks, he might keep throwing for a while. I mean, he doesn't really show any signs of any wear and tear on the body, that's for sure.
No.
He kind of reminds me of like John Daly in a way from golf.
Yeah.
You know, just the guy that doesn't
look Golden Bear.
Yeah, he doesn't belong anywhere near an athletic field, and somehow he makes it work.
Yep. Well, we learned last week that to be a golfer, you just have to know where to hit the ball.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely some launch angle talk last week about hitting golf balls, no doubt.
Yeah. Speaking of launch angle, we'll move into our first segment here. How about the youth movement that's going on right now? We talked a little bit about Ozzy and Acuna recently, and they're still on fire. I mean, Ozzy, he just he had 5 home runs in 4 games, right? No, that wasn't him. That was Torres, Gleyber Torres. That's another one.
Sheesh. They're all
5 home runs in 4 games. I mean, these guys are just lighting up the scene right now, and baseball's definitely a lot younger.
It's getting younger every year, and we're 40 games in, and you're starting to hear about guys that just came up 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Some of these guys have been prospects for a long time, so anybody who follows like the prospect land probably knew about most of these guys. But for the people who don't, and they're looking at their team and they're going, man, where'd this guy come from? Where'd this guy come from?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me what these guys can do at 19, 20, 21 years old. And, you know, the power that they possess and their bat speed that they're generating. And the defensive plays, these guys are pretty much all good defensive players as well. I mean, it's not like they just hit 450-foot home runs. These guys play outstanding defense. I mean, look at what the Dodgers have with a pitcher coming up, young guy. He came out and had a really good, what the heck's his name? Walker Buehler. Thank you. Drawing a blank. But
that's okay.
He had a really good debut the other day. Took a line drive himself and kept getting after it.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's other guys that are still coming up. You got Fernando Tatis Jr. You got Vlad Guerrero Jr. You know, you got teams like the Padres that still have young talent coming along the way. You got the White Sox that have the Moncado. They have other young players that are coming up. The Pirates have young players. So, you know, all these teams that have stockpiled some of these players and traded them here, traded them there, and all that, you're starting to see some of the rewards for some of that.
I'm really excited to see Vlad Jr. because what we saw briefly in the preseason.
Just that highlight walk-off home run?
Good Lord.
Guy's the real deal.
And he's not putting up any, kid numbers in the minors right now. So, yeah, I'm excited to see him. But then we just saw Juan Soto. I mean,
how good's this guy going to be?
Opposite field bomb, first pitch.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally 19 years old.
Yeah.
And the sky's the limit for this kid, I think. I mean, who saw that coming up? I mean, and you're talking about a team that has World Series aspirations.
Yeah.
Not just making the playoffs, not just winning a division. The Nationals are all in. They've got to go win a World Series now. If they can't go win one now with Bryce Harper there, they're in trouble. Because, I mean, Daniel Murphy's a free agent too, I believe. So this kid is good. They got Victor Robles, who's another really good outfielder, who's coming up. So who knows what's going to happen down in Washington. If this guy can get hot and stay going, maybe it's just, you know, he came up at the right time. But if you're hitting in that lineup with some of those guys, you're going to get protected a little bit. And it's not like there's huge expectations and tons of pressure on him. He's just got to go out and perform.
There's a lot of players where their first at bat was a home run in the past, and a lot of them turned out to be some pretty good players. I think didn't Aaron Judge start his debut? Maybe it wasn't his first at bat, but it was his debut. I'm pretty sure he cranked one.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at Acuna and Albies and they're leading that team. They're in first place right now, and they're good. They're not just. I don't think anybody. I brought up in our very first podcast about how excited I was for the future of them, but I mean, they're really good. If they make a trade or two and go pick up, say they go crazy and they go trade for Chris Archer, and you add that guy into their starting rotation, talk about a difference maker. That team could be viable for a long while. And then you look at like the Phillies; they're young too. They went out and they almost remind me of what the Cubs did the other year when they went out and paid John Lester a lot of money, and they turned the corner with all the young guys with a veteran like John Lester. Man, they went out and got Jake Arrieta. How underrated was that guy this offseason?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe since the Cubs didn't re-sign him, some teams were kind of a little iffy, and I know his velocity's been down a little bit. This guy dominated for a good while. Cy Young Award winner. You know what I mean? So he's came in, and he's really given some stability to that team and that rotation.
Yeah, right now is Arrieta ERA is 2.45 right now, 4 wins, 2 losses, 1.4 WAR average. Yeah, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he's making that team better, and maybe he's the guy that gets them going in the right direction soon. And it seems like they are, but it's one of those things that nobody's really talking too much about some of these teams, and it's very interesting to me.
Yeah. So one more thing before we move on here, I was listening to an interview. I believe it was with Buster Olney.
Who else does interviews? No.
And he was talking to his numbers girl, and she was talking about how she was talking to an older player. And when she was talking about the older player she was talking about was Altuve, who is 28 years old.
That's considered an older player now. So what do they consider Brian McCann, like a grandfather in that team? Are you kidding me?
I guess so. But that just goes to show you.
She literally called him an older player?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Who would, I mean,
one of the older players.
Just like a year or two ago, he was like one of the future stars of the game, let alone an MVP candidate and a batting average king. I mean, he's still a young guy in most of our eyes.
But I guess when you're 10 years older than
some of the guys that are
the
playing
youngest
now.
guy in the league.
Goodness. So I mean, and that Astros team's loaded with young guys. I mean, it's not like Springer's old. It's not like Bregman's old. I mean, it's crazy to me that that's what's considered an old guy. I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, I guess you're starting to see what's happening to some of these older guys in their 30s then.
Yep. Speaking of older guys, we talked a little bit last week. That was a horrible segue. Sorry. The transition king right here. We were talking last week, I believe it was about Robinson Cano and the PED.
Another one bites the dust.
Getting busted with that. So we just found out that Wellington Castillo is another one. So is this, do you think this is going to be a trend here?
I said to you off air before we started, I said, I don't know if maybe the players are getting dumber or if the testing's getting better. I'm still not sure. The thing that should be worrisome is how many other guys are going to get popped for these teams. I mean, it's got to start to make things a little nervous for some clubhouses, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I have that mindset that I just don't even want to know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, this is horrible that I'm going to bring this in here, but like my favorite actor for years is Kevin Spacey. I'm embarrassed to admit it. My favorite comedian for years, Bill Cosby, but you can't talk about him anymore. It's like, God. So like, that's what I'm thinking here, man. If I find out that one of these guys that I love to watch play, just like kind of like it was in the 90s, you find out that, man, everything I was watching was juiced.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you the one thing I think, the suspensions hurt. They suck for your team, for the players. I mean, whatever. They're still getting paid eventually. I mean, they have to give up their money, I guess, while they're suspended. But I almost feel that these teams should be able to opt out of these contracts.
Yeah.
Because how much are they getting ripped off? I mean, did the Orioles pay Chris Davis all that money because he took Adderall and did well? Because that sure as hell ain't working out in their favor right now.
No.
Is Robinson Cano's owed
Ask Jim Palmer. He'll tell you.
No shit. I mean, that's a big deal right now. But, Robinson Cano's owed a lot of money, and he's not getting any younger. Should the Mariners be on the hook for it? Did they pay for something that wasn't real? I mean, Castillo, he's not. I mean, he's a pretty decent catcher. He went there for a money grab because that was where he was going to get paid and get to play. He's still under contract next year with the White Sox, I believe. So, should they be should they have to pay? I don't think these teams should, have to pay that money. That should be their out. If you got popped, bud, your money's gone.
That's where that should be a clause in the very beginning.
Should be.
In the
I think that would stop it. But I mean, there's part of me that
maybe
I kind of love the juice era. I'm not gonna lie. I think
I was going
baseball
to say
is
that
exciting
too.
then.
I was going to say that too. As much as it saddened me, it was still the most exciting baseball ever. I loved watching it.
Who didn't love watching Mark McGwire chase that record and hit a wimpy line drive over the fence for the record? But and then
my gosh, that was the worst of all of his home runs
ever. I mean, but the chase of him and Sammy Sosa that season was electrifying. You know what I mean?
Bonds a couple years later.
Yeah, Clemens and all. I mean, all of those guys that were wrapped up in that, Nayrod and all the excitement that came with it.
Was it Chuck Knobloch in that?
Probably. I mean, I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember him being a power guy. I mean, he probably was in the part of the biogenesis thing, I believe. I mean,
was more.
Oh, did you hear that Teixeira, recently retired Yankee, came out and was talking about Cano, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not surprised," and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, and then it came out later in the other. I think it was the New York Post or whatever said that the Yankees had kind of a fear about signing Cano because they were worried about A-Rod and who was the other guy on the team. They were like all buddies, and they all got popped.
Yeah.
And they were a little worried about it. So that's kind of interesting that even teams within their own organizations are kind of worried about their players.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. And even though I'd like it to be fair, so, you don't have to, have an advantage for one team and not the other. But at the same time, I'd rather just not know about it.
I mean, I think it's one of those, like, there needs to be some clear guidelines. Like, we're going to accept these drugs, but not these drugs. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's an interesting thing. I'll be surprised if we don't find another player or two that gets popped, honestly, though.
And all it's going to really take is if they try to clear it out of their system now, it's going to be just like with Cano. All they found was the I'm not going to try to say the name of it again, but
like
all they found was a diuretic that was the masking agent basically for it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I wonder if they'll do a league wide check.
That's the one thing I wish they would publish, though. I wish they would have a place where fans could go see who's getting tested, how often are they getting tested, because I think that would give some clarity to what's actually going on behind the scenes. And I guess, maybe it's because Major League Baseball doesn't want to test some of the guys, some of their superstars as much as possible, but I really think that would be the most way to make it the most transparent for the fans to understand what's going on and to make the consistency of it.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's talk about Joey Bats, Jose Bautista.
Boo.
So, I texted you earlier. He's a guy I hate because, he's ruined some games. In the end, his attitude is he's a cocky son of a bitch, and he's got an attitude on him. My favorite game to watch is when he got punched in the face.
Who doesn't love that?
That was fantastic.
That might be the highlight of his career for me.
Yeah. But at the same time, and maybe this is because I don't have to worry about him being in the same division as the team that I'm rooting for. Not like it matters this year. But I enjoy watching him play. As long as he's not ruining my day. I think he's exciting to watch, but I mean, he's not what he used to be, at least a couple years ago. I mean, the Braves didn't get him a lot of chance to really pull through. So, I mean, he only had 40 at-bats with the Braves. But I enjoy watching him. I'm not really ready for him to not play right now. If that makes any sense. It's kind of weird for a guy I cannot stand.
I kind of go back to when I think the Blue Jays offered him a contract extension a few years ago, and he was like, nope. I know what I'm worth. You're going to pay me what I'm worth, and we're not going to sign anything. And I think he wanted like 5 years, $125 million. Like he wanted Josh Hamilton kind of money. And everybody saw how that worked out. That was terrible. So the Blue Jays were smart. They didn't make that move. Now look at him. Now he can't even stay on a team. So obviously being an O's fan, I've been to a bunch of Toronto O's games. I've watched a bunch of them on TV. I remember watching some of the arguments that he had with like Adam Jones in the middle of playing. I watched him stare down a few guys on a few home runs running. I mean, I don't mind the bat flip thing. I really don't. I mean, it is what it is because it's kind of exciting. It's kind of fun. But I think some of his other antics are kind of ridiculous and kind of got old. But, like you said, you brought up the point where he got punched in the face. Well, I think that was one of those that most of the major leagues, people watch it, were like, oh, about damn time somebody did that.
Yeah.
Because he kind of had it coming. So, it's kind of funny to me that the Mets just gave up on Matt Harvey. And then the first headline is, so the Mets are interested in Jose Bautista. Why the hell would you give up on Matt Harvey and want this guy, Dan?
I don't know. Because I have these, I ask myself these questions a lot of times with the Orioles. They make some of the same moves,
Yeah, don't
in
sign
the past.
Nelson Cruz. Don't sign Nick Marquez, because look what they're still doing.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Sign Mark Trumbo. How will that work out?
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it was probably a dumb move by them, but at the same time, I like watching the guy. I like his attitude. I think it's just because he's so different from me. I like his attitude, and it's like one of those things where he gets punched in the face, he gets punched in the face, but he kind of reminds me of that guy when Dave was in here talking with us, and it's you don't want to be that guy that you're not here to make friends, you're here to win.
Yeah.
It's like
He does have a cannon in the outfield, though, man. God,
Yeah.
he had an arm. Jesus.
putting him at third base though. He's been out of it for.
Well, the Braves just didn't really have a spot for him, and they had no third baseman. So I
Yeah.
think they were just hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they have Markakis in right. They got Inciarte in center. So they just didn't really have a third baseman. So they basically just kicked him to the curb and said, we'll bring up this young guy and give this young guy a chance. So, it's not surprising the Braves are in a youth movement. They were just hoping, I think, to bring a veteran in to help him out. And if he still had something left to where he could be that journeyman like Mark Reynolds, who's bounced around for years and still played, you know what I mean? He's just not that guy, I don't think, and I'm not sure he ever will be. But, we'll see what happens. Maybe the Mets pick him up. I know they need some outfield help, so maybe he gets a chance to play there. I think that he's better suited for the AL at this point in his life, probably so he can DH once in a while. But, maybe the Mets jump on that and try to catch lightning in a bottle too.
I didn't even have this in my notes to talk about. We just brought it up, and we were talking about the Nationals earlier. Speaking of Mark Reynolds, he's got a nice little comeback. He had 2 multi-homer games in the last week.
It's the guy that he is, man. And
Yeah.
he's kind of always been that guy off the bench that could provide some pop and.
He can play anywhere.
Yeah, he could play anywhere. Even the O's got, what's his name this year? He's another one of the drawing a blank here, but he's one of the, Steve Pierce was a guy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of these guys that just bounce around and they're that 24th, 25th man on the bench, and they can play 3-4 positions, and managers like them because they don't, they always show up whenever they're needed. Mark Reynolds is one of those guys. He's always hanging around. He did it for the Rockies for a while. He kept them, relevant when they needed a player.
Mm-hmm.
How about this topic, Dan? Did you see? I was on my way home, I guess, from work, or maybe I was at work. I don't remember. And then I saw the thing popped up that Ohtani, your boy, your living legend, he's going to skip his start. How about this?
My new favorite player.
He's going to skip his Sunday start against Tanaka from the Yankees. How big would that matchup have been for TV?
That would have been exciting.
Another chance for the Angels to, cash in.
They're missing all these opportunities, I feel.
I mean, maybe he's huge, though, so I don't know if it really
He
matters.
is huge. And, on top of that, we just heard that he has no interest in being in a home run derby when asked about that. And I kind of like his style because he's there to improve and help his team win and, that stuff on the side. And that's not a big deal for him. So
I guess maybe the language barrier kind of prevents some of the stupid questions that he doesn't have to answer. And,
Right.
he only has to take legit questions through his interpreter. So
that's true.
It's interesting, though, they're already starting the rest period. So kind of concerned. I don't know if this is an overreaction by the Angels or if maybe they know something that we don't.
They're
But
trying to protect their golden goose.
as good as the guy has been, man, that's a tough decision. And it's not like they're, head and shoulders above the rest of the league. Heck, they're the 4 games off the pace today.
Yeah.
So any start that he misses, that's another game you could be back. And I get that you don't win championships in May and early June, but man, you do start to pile wins up in June, July, and August. So it'll be interesting. I think it's a unique situation for sure, and we'll see how it works itself out.
It's going to be an exciting series. That's for sure. All right, so we are going to we're going to shut up now. And we got...
Finally, we're going to shut up and pass the buck on to somebody else who knows something about baseball.
We are excited for this interview. I can't even tell you if we're going to even call it a coach's corner or if we're going to call it call to the bullpen or we're going to call it product demo because this is all 3 all at once. Talking to a former minor league pitcher, and I think you guys are going to enjoy his story, and I think you guys are going to get a lot out of it, and... So enjoy the interview. We are on the line with former relief pitcher John Madden. John is originally from northern New Jersey, but spent the majority of his life in central Florida. In college, He pitched for 2 years at Seminole Community College and would later take his talents to Auburn University. In his senior year at Auburn, he pitched 86 relief innings and ended with an ERA of 1.77. After college, John was selected in the 8th round of the 2005 MLB draft by the San Diego Padres, where he earned the Best Pitcher award in his second season with the Padres minor league organization. His contract would later be purchased by the New York Mets in 2008, where he would only be able to pitch for 2 seasons before injuring his shoulder. During his rehabilitation, John put and continues to put all of his time and devotion into his baseball training website, YouGoProBaseball.com. John uses this website as a way to give back to the game and to the kids who don't have the opportunity to get lessons or attend expensive camps. The site was quickly voted the best instructional baseball website in the world after only 5 years. John, thank you for coming on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
No problem. We look forward to talking to you today. All right.
Absolutely.
So we're going to get into some questions here. In the intro, I told you off air here that I left a good bit out of your introduction, that especially that pertains to high school and college. I've read your story, and your story is awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about your college career and how it came to be, and even high school going into that? I thought the story there was pretty awesome. So if you could give us a little bit of information about that, that'd be great.
Yeah. Actually, the some of my teammates in pro ball used to make fun of me. It was kind of a joke, like how'd you get here? And my parents put me into t-ball, and I was never allowed to quit a season once I started the season. So that was like the rule, the house rule. So they would sign me up for a season, and halfway through the season, I'd be like, I don't want to play baseball anymore. And they said, well, you can't quit. You have to finish the year, And so that was always the rule. And the next year I was signed back up for baseball again. So I was never allowed to quit the game. And I just kept going and kept playing and parlayed that into high school, college, and then professional baseball. But as far as going from t-ball to high school, that was just taking its course. But from high school to college, I actually played through high school and didn't have anywhere to play. I thought I was going to be drafted. I thought I was the man. I was like, no, I'm the man. I'm going to be drafted. I'm having $1 million in the bank, and everything's going to be good. But nobody, I never got drafted out of high school, and then actually I didn't even have a college to play at all the way through my senior year. Finished the senior season and didn't have anywhere to go, and I pitched season of high school. And a college coach was there, a Seminole Community College coach was there. And, I guess I caught his eye. I guess I did well. And so he asked me to come to a tryout or like a showcase for his school, which was the next weekend or whatever. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. And so he talked to me and my best friend, who was also on the same high school team. And so, my best friend called me up. He's like, hey, you going to the showcase today? And I was like, nah, I'm not going to go. So I skipped the showcase like a big idiot. And I didn't go. I didn't have anywhere to go. And I skipped it. I was just going to go work, I guess, drive a truck or something. Mm-hmm. My dad was a truck driver. So, I don't know what my plan was. I was, an idiot in high school, didn't really have a plan. So he went to the showcase. And he did good. He ended up, the coach liked him, so he ended up earning a redshirt spot as a redshirt freshman. But the coach called me a couple days after the tryout. He's like, "Where were you? I really wanted to see you. I liked what I saw." And I said, "Oh, I couldn't make it. Sorry, coach. Whatever. Just lying basically."
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I really like, what I saw. I really want you to play for us. I'd be willing to give you a full scholarship. And I'm like, Yeah, that's cool. Thanks, coach. But I've got some other options. I've got some other things on the table right now, which I didn't have anything, And so he's like, all right, well, call me back. Let me know. So I hang up the phone and I go, Mom, I think I just got a full scholarship. She goes, you better pick up that phone and call him back. So anyway, I called him back. I was like, yeah, I'd love to come to the school or whatever. So I ended up getting a full scholarship to junior college. And we actually had an awesome team. We were stacked, man. We had a bunch of guys drafted from there. I didn't get drafted from that team, but we had a bunch of guys drafted. We actually made it to the Junior College World Series. And we were Florida state champs, ran that tournament. I think we were undefeated that tournament, and made it to the JUCO World Series. We didn't win, but we beat the team who went to go and win that. So it was a pretty cool experience, and parlayed my 2 years at JUCO into going to Auburn, which was a crazy experience. And that was basically it. How I got from high school to JUCO and then to Auburn.
And John, it's Tyler. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I know you're busy with everything you have going on and all with your family. So thanks for taking the time to talk to us and our listeners about your experiences and all. But for the average person who's like, oh, he just went to JUCO, can you just explain to people how good JUCO baseball is, especially in the state of Florida, and how deep it is? I mean, kids, like Bryce Harper in Las Vegas went to JUCO, and there's thousands of guys and, that have been through JUCO that get drafted and go on to have great careers. Can you just explain to the average person, how good JUCO baseball is for the kid who doesn't know where he wants to go or how many options he has?
Yeah, man, JUCO, first of all, I tell all my guys that the kids that I train now, that, JUCO is the way to go. But yeah, JUCO is the best, in my opinion. I still think that my JUCO team could have beat my Auburn team. Like,
wow.
That's how good we were. A Division I junior college baseball team, especially in the southern states, like Florida, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, California, these junior colleges are stacked. And the reason why, I think, is because a lot of the great players who want to maintain their draft eligibility go to JUCO, because you can get drafted at a junior college as a freshman or a sophomore. But if you go to a 4-year school, you can't get drafted until your junior year. At least that's the way the rules were when I was playing.
Still is. I mean, and a lot of kids, you're risking a lot of money if you go to, commit your junior year or your freshman, sophomore, and you can't come out till after your junior season. You're risking a lot there for some kids if you're super talented.
Right. And then the other thing, too, that a lot of people don't think about is you've got these studs who come from these maybe not so great areas or schools who don't have the best grades, but JUCO, you don't really need as good of grades as you would like going to an Auburn university or a bigger school. So you got these stud athletes who really can't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So they end up going to a JUCO. And it's just great, man. Like I said, our team was stacked, and a lot of our competition that we played against a lot of great players, a lot of guys who ended up playing pro baseball. We played against, and I think we ended up, in the 2 years I was there, over 10 guys were drafted from my JUCO team. So
wow.
So let's move on to Auburn here. Now, Auburn, it's one of the toughest baseball conferences in college. What was it like to play at LSU or Florida or Ole Miss, Tennessee? What was it like playing in places like that with the atmosphere? And if you could add on to there as well, like with Auburn, how'd you do? I know we mentioned a little bit from your senior year, but can you talk about that experience as well, just at Auburn?
Yeah, it was definitely a different experience because, going from JUCO, even though we were a great team, there might only be 20 people at the games.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even there was no stands or anything like that. Like parents and friends would just kind of hang along the fence and stuff like that. So, it's crazy going from that and then going to, like, when we played Arkansas for, I think it was like a big game or something we had, maybe going into a regional or something. But there was like 10,000 people there, so it was definitely a different experience as far as that goes, and definitely something that I had to get used to. I was horrible my junior year, the first year going into Auburn. And I think part of it was because getting used to that atmosphere, playing in the bigger stadiums with a lot more people, just having those eyeballs on you, like you can feel it. Like it's a weird feeling having all the attention and the eyeballs on you. Like it's a feeling that you get in your body. And I really struggled with that my first year at Auburn, but I figured it out going into my senior year, and it clicked. And really, it was a decision I made in a practice. I remember taking a ground ball. We were doing pitcher fielding practice, PFP, and I fielded one, and I overthrew it, and I just felt horrible. I was tightening up. I wasn't committing to the play. I said, you know what? This is my senior year. Like, this is it. I could be done with baseball after this. I said, from now on, every single play that I do or every single pitch that I throw, I'm just going to go balls out, 100% committed with full conviction, and that's it. So every time, we did PFPs, I was in the front of the line. Normally I was in the back of the line, last guy to go, because I don't want to go, more than I had to. But now I was in the front of the line every time. And every pitch I threw, like even in the inner squads that fall before the real games, like if they call the fastball inside, normally I'd be like, fastball inside. Oh, man, I hope I don't hit this guy. Like that was my thought process. Now I was like, hey, this is my last year. Like, I don't care. Like, fastball inside, I'm going to throw this sucker as hard as I can and get out of the way if it's coming at you, because I don't care. So it was a totally different shift in my mindset. And I just absolutely dominated that year. I had under a 1 ERA for the whole year until the last game, which I'll talk about that in a little bit. But until the last game against Alabama, I was under a 1 ERA, and just killing guys with that mindset. It was just that mindset. You want it fastball inside? Done. Here it is, as hard as I can. And just having that full conviction and confidence in everything that I did. I think you said in the intro I had like 80-something relief innings, which was a national record. I remember the coach coming to me halfway through the year going, I was telling him my arm's dead. Like, I'm dead. Like, I can't throw anymore. He's like, you need to figure that out. You need to figure it out. Like, we're throwing you in there. You come the 6th inning, you're out there on the field. So, I figured it out and just kept throwing, and kind of learned how much my arm and my body, and more importantly, my mind, how much that could handle. So yeah, it was definitely a different experience from JUCO for sure.
Now, take us through a little bit in your time there at Auburn. I mean, obviously, everybody thinks about, SEC football and how big it is. But, like you said, these places are 10,000 people at a game. Just walk us through some of the guys that, you remember facing in some of those great atmospheres, and some of the guys that there's some great baseball players come out of the Southeastern Conference every year to get drafted all the time. And, as a relief pitcher, you're in when the money, when you got money innings on the line, and you got to close, the 6th, 7th, no matter when you come in those games, and you're facing some of the best hitters in the entire country. Walk us through some of the hitters that you had to face a little bit, and where did you get that mindset from to attack those guys?
Yeah, definitely, man. There were some studs we faced, man. I can't even think like all the studs that we faced. I'm sure there's still a bunch of big leaguers. If I sat down and thought about it,
yeah,
of all the guys that I faced. We had one of the best on our team. Josh Donaldson was my teammate, and obviously that guy is balling out right now.
Seriously,
for the last few years. But some guys that I can think of off the top of my head, Matt Laporta. He was always a big hitter. He's not playing anymore, I don't think, but he made it up to the big leagues for a little while. And man, he always took hacks up there. But as far as like facing those big guys and those big name guys, of course, at the time they weren't major leaguers.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm facing Josh Donaldson. even in inter squad, facing Josh Donaldson, it wasn't, oh my God, Josh Donaldson. It was this little punk freshman, I'm facing little Joshy, which, by the way, little Joshy was still a damn stud. So, it's different. They didn't have the name behind them at the time. And, I had the confidence going in there. Like I said, everything I did, I just had that full confidence and conviction. So no matter who was up there, I was just like, do what you want, try to hit it, but here comes my best stuff. And really it was that mindset that changed, that one decision, that one practice that I made that changed everything for me, because otherwise I wouldn't have made it as far as I did.
Oh, I love listening to, and pitchers and catchers, I guess, probably talk the most about that mindset. You know what I mean? And I love just hearing guys talk about that and, how they get to that point, to where it all clicks and all that. So it's always fun to have that conversation and hear how that comes out. And obviously, you had a great run there at Auburn your senior year. Walk us through, and for most people, they don't know that the draft happens late in the college career. Some, guys get drafted in the middle of a College World Series while it's still going on. So walk us through what that was like for you, where you were at, how you got told about it, and how your family and friends felt about it for everybody.
Yeah. So luckily for me, well, I mean, I guess not luckily, but at Auburn, we never made it to the World Series, so we didn't play that deep into the season. I think we might have made it to a regional or super regional maybe. So I was done playing by the time the draft came around. And the funny thing is, I thought I was going to get drafted, like I said before, in high school, and even in JUCO, I thought I was going to get drafted, and never did, obviously. But my senior year, I talked to every single scout, every organization scout throughout the year. So I think, that might be something for a guy out there who thinks he's going to be drafted or something. They'll come and talk. The scouts will actually come and talk to you if they're interested. So if you think you're going to get drafted, a lot of the times they're probably going to sit down and have a little talk with you. And that definitely didn't happen in high school or JUCO for me, but my senior year at Auburn, it definitely did. I talked to every team. But as far as the experience of being drafted, it was really cool for me. Just because this time I actually knew I was getting drafted, I was slotted. I had an agent, which actually they call him advisor beforehand because, I don't know, I guess legally you can't have an agent beforehand because you're a college athlete or whatever.
NCAA rules.
Yeah.
Everybody loves those.
He was telling me, I was slotted between the 5th and the 7th round. So I knew pretty much I was getting drafted. And actually we had a meeting. I had a meeting the day of the draft at Auburn, an exit meeting. And I think they wanted me to stay up there to take pictures or something for the newspaper or something. But I just wanted to get home, so I did my exit meeting and I bounced out of there as quick as I could. So the draft was actually going on. I had my exit meeting and the draft started right when it ended. So I hopped in the car and it was 6 or 7 hours from Auburn to my house. So I'm driving back home and I check in every hour or so, or my mom or my dad will call. Actually, my mom was working, so my dad will call me and he was like, nothing first round, nothing second round, nothing third round, which, I didn't expect. I was hoping that would be great if I jumped up in the draft, but, I wasn't expecting anything like that. But then come the 5th round, my agent was telling me slotted 5th to 7th. So, 5th round goes by nothing, dad calls, nothing. 6th round, nothing. And by the way, I'm still driving home, this whole time. I'm just driving faster and faster and faster as the rounds go by. And I'm trying to get home as fast as I could. And finally I get home and, 7th round, nothing. We're in the middle of the 8th round and I walk into my house and my dad's standing there by the computer because that's how they listen to the draft or whatever. And one of my friends was there at the house hanging out. And nothing happened. So I literally walk in. I'm like, nothing. They're like, nah, nothing. Halfway through the 8th round. And then literally, I might've been home 5 minutes maybe. And then I hear my name on the thing, on the computer from the Padres, Padres take John Madden in the 8th round, whatever number pick or whatever. So it was pretty cool. We were excited. Everybody was high-fiving and stuff. And then my mom was at work. She was a waitress at the time. So we packed it up in the car and went over to her little restaurant she was working at and ate some lunch. And that was it. Celebrated a little bit.
That's awesome.
Pretty fun experience, pretty cool experience. And I don't know. Do you want me to go into like the experience, like what happens after that? Like,
Yeah, go ahead.
Take us through where they assigned you and everything that goes through with it. Who called you, and what the organization did from there for you.
Yeah. So probably another 3 minutes after I heard my name on the radio, I got a call from the Padres scout, who was who I was talking to throughout the year, and he was like, "Congratulations, whatever." So then he's like, I'm like, all right, what do we do now? And he's like, well, basically you got to sign the contract and we'll fly you down to Arizona, because that's where the Padres spring training was at, which obviously it's not spring training time. It's June when the draft happens. So I was like, all right, cool. But then the next call was from my agent, and he was like, hey, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. He was like, all right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the scout, and we're going to negotiate schooling in your contract, because the scout told me we're going to sign you for this amount or whatever, on the call. And I was like, to me, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. Let's do this. And then the agent calls me and like, no, we got to get school. We got to get school out of him, all this stuff. And then the scout's calling me. He's like, no. He's like, you really want to let this guy blow it for you, blah, blah. So he scared the crap out of me. I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to mess anything up. So I told the agent, I was like, nah, let's forget about the school. Let's just take the money and we'll go. We'll sign. I just want to get over there and start playing. So he was like, all right, cool. And so I signed. They flew me over to Arizona, and you meet with all the other. So I didn't actually sign anything until I got there. I got there, walked in. Went to a room. That was like the first thing I did. They took me to a room and brought out the contract, signed it, which is it's a standard 7-year minor league contract is what most guys sign. I'm sure like first rounders probably sign something different, but
yeah,
that's what most of the guys sign, is a standard 7-year contract. And then I was there with the rest of the draft class. So like, I forget how many rounds there are, but there's probably, out of the guys who signed, there's probably like 25, 30 guys there who had just, signed contracts and came in.
Mm.
So we were all there for what they call mini camp. And it's basically all the new draft guys. And we did like 3 or 4 days of practicing, like team practice, and kind of just meetings and kind of telling you what's going on and everything, kind of introducing you to the organization. And then from there you break to a team. And a lot of us went to what is called short season. And I call it short season because it starts after the draft. So it's only a half year. So a lot of the new draft guys go to that short season A ball is what they call it. So a lot of us went there. Some of the younger guys stayed back in rookie ball, which is actually at the spring training complex. And then we had a season. So we did that. We went through the season. I did really good that season. I was a setup guy there because we had a stud closer there. And had a good year. And then I went to what was called Instructional Leagues. So after that, Instructional Leagues, like a month long after the season, back at the spring training facility. And basically you just go through a month of practicing. It's just like for new guys typically.
So that's like a step below like the Arizona Fall League in a way. It's for like top prospects in an organization. And then this is for just new guys to keep them going and keeping the routine of what the organization wants to do. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it's basically, we're in the locker room with the Fall League guys. And it's at the same time. It's just, we're not playing those games with them. We're doing more like practicing stuff, daily practice. We're still inter squatting and stuff like that, but it's on the minor league side. And those guys, those fall league guys are more looking for, those are the older guys. They're looking for a call up or something like that, staying fresh if they need that September call up or whatever it is. So, but yeah, same time, same place type deal.
Right on. So once you were there, I mean, I know you were with the Padres for a couple years and then eventually to the Mets. Out of like, when you started playing and you started finally, getting in some games and things like that, for our listeners, what are the key takeaways you got from your time playing with those two teams? I mean, I know, probably skipping ahead here a little bit. There's probably a lot of takeaways, but whether it's from baseball, a takeaway from baseball, or just life in general, like what are some of the key things that happened in your career with a major league ball club? What can you tell us about that you got the most out of?
Oh man, there's a lot of takeaway. I mean, most of the stuff I never really had a real job, so everything I've ever really learned was through, playing baseball or dealing with teammates and organizations and stuff like that. So, man, I don't know. There's so much that I learned, and I think the biggest thing is just the experience. Playing with these guys, and it's crazy because a lot of the guys that I played with, like even if we don't talk that much or keep in touch that much, like I still have a feeling of like that's my real close friend, that's my brother. Like, it's just having that same experience with those guys, and then going into like regular life afterwards. Mm-hmm. It's a cool feeling. It was a cool experience, obviously, and I learned a lot. So I wouldn't even know where to begin in talking about what I learned.
Yeah. Now, with this year, Tyler and I'm sure you also get tons of updates that pop up on your phone about the current season right now that's going on. It seems like there's an injury bug happening all across baseball right now, and it happens every year, but it just seems like this year, like the biggest players are just going down with injuries. And obviously baseball is a long season. These guys play 5-6 nights a week. And, with your career, you obviously got that bug as well. And what can you tell us about talk about your injury first, but talk about how much of a toll your body takes from playing every single day in the majors.
Yeah, it's definitely a grind if you think about it. We're playing 60 games or something, 150 games. I don't remember, but playing a lot of baseball, and it's day in and day out, not too many breaks. I think I remember counting one time, and we had off like maybe like 14 days or something in a season out of 6 months or something. That's not counting spring training and instructional league or anything after the season or playoffs or anything either. So it's definitely a grind. And looking back, that's one thing I would have done better. Like I was always a very hard worker in the gym and training and trying to get better and stuff like that. I was always really good at. But I would have done more to like do more maintenance type stuff from my body, like more just to combat the wear and tear, and just more like flexibility stuff, maintenance, like just more care for my body. I would have, if I could go back and do it again, obviously, because you only got one, especially as a pitcher, you only got one pitching arm, unless you learn how to throw lefties. But, once that thing goes, you're pretty much done. I was still young at the time. I think when I was done, I was maybe 20. Shoot, I don't even remember. It's been so long. Mid-20s, maybe high 20s. I don't even remember. So I was still in great shape. I still felt very athletic, and I still felt like I should be doing something. But when you're a pitcher and you can't throw the ball, I went from pitching 96 at my fastest to throwing 76 miles an hour, and that's not going to get the job done,
right?
Anymore. So yeah, that's one thing I definitely would would have went back and changed, probably give myself more care, more arm care, more attention to my body for sure.
It's funny you bring that up. I was just watching something on like MLB Network. They were talking about like Jake Arrieta. He's into doing Pilates, and these other guys are getting into doing yoga and all these different things that are just kind of, they're all new to the game in a way that pitchers haven't really thought about. So, talk about. Can you just walk us through a little bit about like what kind of things you would do for your arm to condition it, prior to, and then all the stuff you had to go through for the rehab of that, and why it's so important to take care of yourself on the front side so you don't have to deal with it on the back side.
Yeah. So like I said, I was really good at like training and getting stronger every year and every off season. And I was very athletic for a pitcher, I think at least. So, that wasn't an issue with me. Some of those things, and I think some guys that could be an issue. Like some guys are just throwers. They're not necessarily strong or put in work in the gym and stuff like that. But for me, like you said, it was, doing some more like the yoga, Pilates type stuff, stretching, bands, things like this. I would have focused a lot more on. As far as what I used to do, I would get warmed up, stretch a little bit, and then start playing catch. And then do some long toss. I wasn't a big long toss guy, like an extreme long toss. I was more I would go out to like maybe 120 at the most, maybe 150, and just throw it as hard as I could. Because I was a sinker guy, so the further I went, the more my ball flattened out, and I didn't want to lose that movement, that sink. So I just wanted to stay in close and throw the ball as hard as you can. And I still think that way. I wouldn't have changed that. Like I wouldn't have started doing more long toss or extreme long toss, because in my opinion, it's not about the distance, for me at least. I know a lot of people have a lot of success doing that extreme long toss, but for me, I think you can throw with the same intensity 300 feet as you can at 60 feet, as long as you have the mindset to do that. I could throw a ball 60 feet to somebody the same intensity I can throw it 300 feet.
Yeah, that's interesting.
In fact, for me, I felt better throwing it at a shorter distance. I felt like I could throw it harder. When I got longer, it just felt weird to me. Maybe just the angle of the throw. I'm not sure. It just never felt great to me.
It's definitely.
So for me, to get stronger, it was more about the number of throws times the intensity. So like if you're doing bench press in the gym and you're trying to get stronger, you're not just going to go out there and slap 315 pounds in the bench press and try to bench it as much as you can. You're going to start off slow with a certain amount of weight, and then over time build up, add more weight, add more reps, add more sets. Same thing with the throwing. The intensity is what I'm going to play with. The distance to me didn't really matter, because the intensity I could do at any distance. And then it's just the number of throws. And then obviously I'm going to progress that. I might do, X amount of throws one day, see how I feel, give my arm a rest. And then when I'm feeling good again, maybe next time I'll do, more throws or a little bit more intensity or whatever it is. So to me, the distance was never a big key factor. It was more number of throws and intensity.
Very, very interesting, because it's always interesting to me, because like I said, you have so many different rules of thought and philosophy into it, and what works for one person doesn't always work for the other, and you're a relief pitcher and a starter. Like it's very different depending on your role and all of that stuff, and I guess probably your pitching coaches, their philosophy and the organizational philosophies. So it's always interesting, I think, to hear, how you went about it and all of that. So if you can, just walk us through what kind of happened there at the end of your career, and really what ultimately led you into what you're doing now and creating this amazing website that you got going on.
Yeah, thank you. Really, I actually started the website before I was hurt or before the end of my career. It was actually at the beginning of my career that I started the website.
Wow.
It was after I got drafted. It was crazy because to me it was what did it was the BlackBerry. I don't know if you guys remember the BlackBerry.
Oh yeah,
phone.
I had one of these bad boys. Had the Pearl.
Yeah. So I got the BlackBerry like before that I don't even remember what I had. I guess like a flip phone or something. I don't even remember like what kind of phone I had before.
Probably one of those slide ones when it was like the LG Razor or something like that.
Yeah. So I had something like that, and then I got the BlackBerry, and I was like, hold up. You can get email on your phone? Oh my God. Because this was like 2007, I'm talking now. So like the BlackBerry was like, we didn't have the iPhone or nothing like that. Or maybe we did. I remember actually the first iPhone I ever saw was Kellen Kobaki. He was a first round draft pick with the Padres. And it was like 2008, and he had like the iPhone 1, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's around the time it came out. Yep.
Yeah, so he had the iPhone. I'm like, I was like, how can you even text like that? Like, there's no buttons. Like, how do you even text? He was like, nah, try it. It's easy. So he let me type on the iPhone 1. I was like, oh, this is cool, man. But I was still rocking the BlackBerry at the time. Still super excited about
What was the
email.
messaging thing on BlackBerry? What was that? DD.
I can't remember what it was called.
Ah, man, was the message? It was a big deal when it came out. Sorry to jump in on John, but it was like hit me in the head. The messaging thing. Dang it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so it was like this amazing, right? Remember when that came out? Like BlackBerry was big. So anyway, I'm like, man, you can get email on the phone, and that blew my mind. And I was like, I just saw it happening, like where everything was going. Like as far as like, what if I could take my experience of what I'm doing now, like pro baseball, like share my experience of what's happening and share it with all these kids that aren't able to go get lessons or go to camps or even the guys who are able to do that stuff. Just share my experience in general with everyone, because I realize like now it's going to be out there. Like you can get into someone's hand in their phone, and I kind of just saw the trend happening, and I was like, I got to do this. Like this just seems right, and it's something that I can do after baseball. Something like a backup plan, because I didn't really know what I was going to do in real life after baseball. And I think I kind of got in at the right time, and it's been growing ever since. And luckily I haven't really had to do anything else after baseball. I started giving lessons and stuff like that, but at this point, basically all I do is manage my website, and I scout a little bit for the USSSA, which is a youth baseball organization. So that's really all I do now. And I think it was really just getting in at the right time and understanding where the trend was happening, and then just being genuine and sharing my experiences, and then kind of trying to really just help as many people as I could.
Now, for the coaches that are listening right now that might be coaching Little League or even travel ball, high school even, since now you have some clientele, you're with between the website and actually coaching people for individual sessions, what do you see is the most common mistake, or what common mistakes are you seeing with youth baseball today, that when people come to you, what are you seeing that's just a repeat over and over again, that if you had more focus on that at the younger stages, you probably wouldn't see it much. So what is that mistake that you see a lot, or mistakes?
There's two big things that I see a lot. Well, the one thing is that the main thing is that young guys focus too much on the skills part of the game right now, at least from what I see. Everyone wants to work on their hitting mechanics and their pitching mechanics and focus so much on the skills versus the two, what I was going to get to before, the two big things that I think we need to focus on more is, one, becoming better athletes at the younger age. So more of a general, just being a good athlete. And two is the mindset, the mental part of the game, which, at any age I think is super beneficial, but we don't work on it hardly enough at the youth level. So that's probably the biggest thing, the biggest issue that I see, besides having some crazy baseball parents out there. And I know some of the coaches listening
Guilty.
know what I'm talking about.
Oh man.
It's always fun because there's always those couple parents on, no matter where you're at, or even I'm sure when you do a lesson, there's always that, dad that's being the vulture instead of just letting his kid, get some instruction, learn something, try to go put it to use, and come back in a week or two and try it again. There's always that dad who thinks, he knows as much as you, and all that.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. I used to just think there's so many crazy baseball parents. I said, these crazy baseball parents out there, they're so crazy. They're so crazy. But now I have a son. I have a 2-year-old son. And now I'm like, this kid is the best. I'm like, now I get it. I'm the crazy guy. I'm the crazy dad. So like now it's good for me because I think I see both perspectives. So I hope I would not let myself get out of that, that way. But I get it. I can see how it happens now, so it's not like I'm hating on these people. I get it. I understand it. Like that's your baby. You want the best for them. But I think we as coaches need to be able to try to manage that better and just be able to communicate with some of the craziness that goes on. And again, just manage it. I actually shot a video on my YouTube channel called Baseball Parent Stereotypes. It's a pretty funny video.
That's great.
If you haven't seen it, but it's funny. Now I understand. I understand now.
So, John, for some people who, might be hearing about you for the first time and all that you've done and this whole website, can you just walk our listeners through some of the things that are on your webpage that they can get more information on, some of the programs you have on there for, even for the coach, for the player, and for the people who just want to get more information on baseball? Can you just talk us through some of those things?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I got going on is probably my YouTube channel. That's where I put most of the free information on. I've got obviously Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all that good stuff. But YouTube is where I put all the good stuff at, to be honest. And it's obviously all free, bunch of good tips up there. So that's where pretty much everyone should get started. I also put that stuff, blogs and stuff on my website. The stuff that I do sell is training products, and I don't have every single training product out there. I decided that on my website, I only wanted to carry the stuff that I truly believed in and that could be very beneficial to coaches and players and parents. So it's a very small group of training products, but they're really good stuff. So that's on my website. I sell a bunch of those on my website. And then I also have digital training programs. So if you're a pitcher looking to pitch faster and pitch more accurately, I have a digital program for you. If you're a hitter that's trying to, increase your batting average or just hit better, work on your swing, there's a program for you. There's a bunch of different programs on there. It's Confidence Booster. I talk about a lot of the stuff that I talked about as far as me changing my mindset, like I talked earlier. Tryout domination, how to go into a tryout and dominate, make the team. Just a bunch of programs and things that I've learned along the way. And I put a lot of that stuff for free on YouTube. But when it comes to the programs, I really organize it in a way for guys to get the most out of it and see the most benefit. So really, it's however anyone wants to come across it. Start on the YouTube channel. If you like what you see, go check out one of my programs, check out some of the products, and of course, I'll be here to answer any questions anyone ever has. So, I get a bunch of emails, so I'm a little slow getting back to the emails and the messages, but I get back to them, I promise.
Yeah, you talk about mindset a lot, and I love that because mindset is not only in baseball but in life. And if you have a horrible mindset, you kind of travel down the horrible road. So, and vice versa, obviously. You brought up. You bring up the mindset, and it made me think of the philosophy you have on your page about taking ownership, and owning something is and being a professional. That's that's something that has to do with mindset as well. Can you talk a little bit about how important that is?
Oh yeah, super important, super important. You know, it's and that's a big thing too. I see in youth baseball. You asked a little while ago, what's one of the big things you see and one thing is, it's everybody else's fault. I see a lot of kids jumping from team to team, like, this team didn't do this for me or that for me. There's a lot of team hoppers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of talking about, that team wasn't good for me, maybe look in the mirror, and say, why am I not working with all these different teams? So just having that ownership, that self-awareness of who you are and what you're trying to do is important. I think not just in baseball, but in everything,
Mm-hmm.
in everything you're trying to do. Just having that ownership and awareness are very, very huge for success, no matter what you're doing. I actually travel with Nick Shaw. He's in some of the videos that I do. He's my fielding guy. He's got a lot of great fielding information out there. He's a professional middle infielder with the Brewers organization. And I really love one of the things I love about Nick. There's many things I love about him, but one of the things I love about him is, like, if anything happens, even if it's not his fault, he's like, "Oh, that's on me. That's on me. I got that. My bad." And I think in my head, like, man, that's not even your fault. But he's always, he's like, "Hey, I got that. It's my bad." So, just having that extreme ownership is huge. It's huge in anything you do.
Yeah, I mean, I've coached high school baseball for the past 6 years, John, and I always think that if kids just take ownership of what they're doing, it helps them, clear their mind after an error, after a strikeout, after they give up a big hit. I mean, I love what you're saying, and I completely agree. And I just, it's always great for more people to preach that to the younger generation or even the coaches to make them understand, what it takes for these kids. They're just kids, no matter if they're, 8 years old or 18 years old. They're still a kid in a way, and they're still trying to figure it out and work through it. So, I love what you're saying, and I think if parents would just back up a step and, take that same philosophy to being a parent, to being, everything they do for their kids, I think it would be a lot more beneficial for them in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely too. And you got to think about it, like, put yourself in the shoes of that guy, and we can do that easily because we've been there. We've been that guy who booted that ball.
Yeah.
But think about it. He wasn't trying to make an error. So yelling at him is not going to make him feel any better about it. If we can say, hey, or even a teammate or a coach or whoever, parent, whatever, hey, it's all right. Hey, this next one's coming to you. Let's get him. We got this right here. Kind of go with that approach instead. Come on, you got to have that ground ball. What the hell's the matter with you? Like, obviously he's not trying to miss the ground ball. He's trying to make the play. He doesn't want to let anybody down. So, with that approach, I think it's easier if we give that to him and say, hey, it's all right. We got this next one. Come on, let's go. If we make it easier for him to have the ownership, so it's kind of a team effort as far as that goes. Because if all he does is get yelled at, he's gonna want to find a way out of that, find an excuse. It wasn't my fault, took a bad hop, or whatever the case is. But if we're like, hey, it's cool, man, it's cool, let's just get this next one, he's gonna be like, yeah, all right, my bad, let's go. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit easier. So I think it's definitely a team effort. And I always say, communication is the biggest thing. As coaches, if we can communicate in the very beginning of the year that this is the way it's going to be, not in a like very aggressive tone, but just lay the groundwork of how this is going to be. This is the way it's going to be. We're not going to have any of this yelling stuff from the stands as far as that goes. It's just communication is huge for coaches, and especially if we can lay everything out in the beginning of the year, it's going to make the rest of the season a lot easier for us.
Absolutely. John, what do you think your future is with baseball? I mean, obviously you have your business right now, and that's going well. Do you see yourself doing anything else, expanding any further down the line? You have anything in the pipeline,
coaching your son's team?
Yeah, coaching. You got a couple more years.
Yeah, that's it, man. We're going 3U next year. We're gonna play up.
Premier, 3U Premier.
Yeah, we're elite. We're elite. Listen, he's got the shortstop position on lock because
No doubt.
Dad's gonna be coaching. You know,
That's awesome.
nah, man. I don't know. Yeah, I really do look forward to that. I don't even know if he's, I don't know. Like, obviously, he grabs my baseballs that I got laying around the house, and he's always throwing them around. But who knows? He might be a ballerina. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I definitely look forward to it, and I can't wait to see how he develops. And I think it's going to be. I tell my wife all the time. I was like, man, I hope he doesn't suck, because if he's good at baseball, this is going to be good for business. I could say, look at what I did with my own son.
Yeah. Plenty of instructional videos.
Yeah. Look, he watches all my videos. This is how he got good like that. But realistically, who knows? There's so much time from now. I'm just happy that he's healthy and and I haven't killed him yet. And,
I hear you.
So I'm just kind of going day by day. I really don't have anything big as far as future plans. Just keep doing it, and then definitely my biggest goal, no matter what it is just help him in any way that I can. And I think that's why the website has grown so much, is because I just want to put as much out there as I can, and just like you guys are doing with the podcast, like getting people on and telling the story, and just having this platform that you guys are providing to let guys come on and you guys talking yourself and just giving that value to the people who are listening. You guys are in the same business, just giving of value, and I think your podcast is going to grow really fast because of that.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, John. I mean, honestly, I'll tell you, it's an honor, and this is why we started the podcast, was for stories like yours, ultimately, because I've coached for years. Dan's got a son who's 5 years old, just starting baseball. He wants to get into coaching in the future, and we just wanted to bring as many people on and share their stories and their path. And not everybody takes the same road to get to where they need to, and all that. So, and in saying that, before we let you get on out of here, what would be your biggest advice that you could pass along to a player coming up through high school, even the kid who thinks, man, I ain't got nowhere to play, and then all of a sudden you end up at a JUCO school, or the parent who's got a high school kid who's struggling, who didn't maybe get on the varsity team this year, he's not a starter. What would be your biggest advice to those people about their path forward?
Oh man, definitely be a student of the game. Be a master of your craft. Be the hardest worker in the room. Always, that's one thing you can control is how hard you work. You can't control how tall you are or how skillful you are to some extent, but you can control how hard you work. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, just play like it's your last season, because that was the game changer for me. Turning that switch and saying, you know what? I don't care anymore. Not that I don't care, but I don't care the consequences of right then, of like if I hit that batter or if I throw the ball away. Just playing with that full conviction and confidence, because I told myself this could be my last season. So play like it's your last season ever of baseball, and you'll be surprised at some of the stuff that you can do out there.
I love it. John, we appreciate having you coming on and talking with us. I know we took a good bit of your time here, but we definitely enjoyed it, and I think our listeners are going to enjoy it as well. I got one more question for you. This is a question we ask every single person that we have on our show as a guest, and I love it because I'm a music guy, and it really tells a little bit more of the story behind the person we're talking to. So here's the question. If you had one more appearance in the major leagues, what would your walkout song to the mound be?
So I've only had 2 walkout songs ever in my career. One was the intro to Madden 92, the Nintendo game, the football game, mm-hmm. Which had Ludacris on it. And then the other was the Monday Night Football theme song. So I think I would have to pick that one, the Monday Night theme song, football music, because it was great. And that was my favorite one.
I mean,
it got me in the zone for sure.
How crazy is it that John Madden, the pitcher, picks John Madden Monday Night Football?
That's what it was. People would be yelling out as I'm running to the mound, because I was a relief pitcher. So they'd start playing my song, and then I'd run to the mound. I hear people yelling, "Hey, Madden, where's Pat Summerall?" And, there's all this crazy, referencing stuff. "Where's the turkey legs, fat boy?" All kinds of crazy stuff as I'm running out there. But I loved it. Actually, the song actually pumped me up a little bit, and it was cool. And I thought that, I thought everyone there kind of loved it and made the connection of what it was. So
Absolutely.
I would definitely pick that one.
I love the answer, man. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk with us.
And before we jump out of here, can you just let our listeners know exactly where they can find you on your YouTube channel, on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, and your webpage, if you just want to, shout that out real quick?
JUCOProBaseball.com. YouTube is JUCO Pro. All the other ones are JUCO Pro Baseball. Just hit me up. I'm there.
Right on. Sounds good, man. Thank you so much.
Hey.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right. Another awesome interview. And glad you guys checked that out. So thanks for coming back for another week of the Going Yard podcast. Check us out on Twitter at Going Yard and number 2, and the rest of social media at Going Yard Podcast.
Yeah, it was great having John on. Appreciate him making some time tonight to come on. Hopefully you all enjoyed that and got as much out of it as we did. We have some great interviews coming up in the future. Look forward to getting back in here next week and seeing what Major League Baseball gives us, and another awesome interview to bring your way.
All right, so make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. And this will wrap up this episode. So for John Madden, I'm Dan.
And I'm Tyler. See ya.
Later.
Have you ever been close to tragedy?